This week on Vaticano, we discover some of the treasures housed in the monastery of Saint Benedict of Nursia in Subiaco, Italy. And we visit the Holy Grotto, where the saint remained for 3 years, dedicating his life completely to prayer. Also, a Benedictine monk tells us what makes up the holy rule of Saint Benedict and how it works. And to close, we'll introduce you to one of the main devotees of the Saint of Nursia. All this and much more now on Vaticano. About 40 miles from Rome, in the upper part of the valley of the river Anien, is the city of Subiaco. Known as the land of monasteries, this area has long been a destination for tourists, as shown by the remains of the imperial villa built by the Emperor Nero. And it is precisely on this spot, on the remains of Nero's villa, where in the 6th century AD, Benedict of Nursia built the first of 12 monasteries that he eventually founded all throughout the valley. Saint Benedict initially dedicated the monastery to Saint Sylvester, but in the 14th century they changed its name and dedicated it to Saint Scholastica. It is today, out of the original 12 monasteries, the only one still standing. A little bit more than a mile from Subiaco, surrounded by an oak tree forest, is the path of the monasteries, which leads to the monastery of Saint Scholastica. Follow the path all the way up to the top of the mountain, and you will find the monastery of Saint Benedict, built in the 12th century over the sacred cave where the saint lived as a hermit for 3 years. Any visitor to this monastery, which clings to an imposing piece of rock and overlooks a ravine, is in for an authentic mystical experience. When Pope Pius II visited it in 1461, he described it as a swallow's nest. Both monasteries are part of one reality. Nowadays, the Benedictine monks of Subiaco number 20, 11 of whom are priests and 9 are not. Don Maurizio is one of the priests, and he will be our guide in a journey that will take us to the heart of the Benedictine spirit. But before we begin, Don Maurizio will explain to us who Saint Benedict of Nursia was and how he arrived to this place.
Okay. Saint Benedict born in Nursia. He belongs to the very important family. Anicia was the name of his father. His father was a prefect for the old Roman Empire. So the young grow with the Christianity, and he has been sent in Rome to undertake our university. Benedict born in the years 400 AD. It's a problem because the Roman Empire collapsed. So imagine the life go on in Rome, but it's very chaotic. So Benedict understands that if he will stay in Rome, he will lose his faith. So he forget Rome, he forget his family, and alone he arrived in this valley. The valley, when Benedict arrived here, it was a desert valley. Only a group of monks live in the top of the hill. And Benedict asked them to be introduced to the hermetic life. So the monks, Romano was his name, he gave him the possibility to stand in the cave that we will visit in a couple of minutes.
In the monastic complex of the sacred cave, also known as the Holy Grotto, there are 2 churches, one on top of the other, and many chapels and caves covered in frescoes dating from the different artistic periods. We'll start from the highest part of the monastery, which is also the most recent, and here we are in the upper church. The space is divided into 2 series of arches or sections. What is special about this temple is the irregularity you can clearly notice between the artistic and architectural styles of which it's composed. Hence the extraordinary richness of this church, not only from an aesthetic point of view, but also from a catechetical one.
This chapel, this is a Gothic church. So Gothic means 14th century, but you have some rest of the 13th century. It's a Romanesque church. So it means 2 churches has been built inside the others. And the frescoes here belongs to the 14th century. This is a school of Siena, very famous painter, also work here. The most important figure of this fresco is Jesus Christ crucified, which has been depicted with a heartful devotion and a good knowledge of the truth. As example, if you can see, "Oh Lord is dead," the two thieves are in life. So how can I see he's dead? Look the color of his skin. These are good knowledges of the truth. The good thief and the bad thief. The good thief is comforted by angel. Can you see there is a, yes, that's the soul of the good thief who go to paradise. On the other side, the bad thief, the angel escaped from him. And there is a devil who snatch out of his mouth his soul. Okay, beneath the cross you can have Mary Magdalene. Our Lady, Mary, she collapsed and she falls to the arms of the other women. And here the soldier, they cast out the Christ's garments. But as you know, Christ is risen. So now we go see the three Mary who goes to the empty sepulchre and they find the angel who give them the news. This is our catechism. Because in the medieval time, people, they were analphabets. That's why the church helped them to paint on the wall Biblia Pauperorum, the Bible of the poor, because you can read with eyes. Because the preacher using to go to this pulpit, but he talked Latin. So not all of them can understand Latin. That's why through the images you have your catechism.
If we go in a bit further into the church, we get to a second series of arches. In this area, the frescoes depict some of the most important moments in the life of Saint Benedict.
The two most important frescoes are those one. You can see in one side this little devil. This in the medieval time represents the temptation. In that case, it's the laziness. The devil take off the monk of this duty. He was praying, and during the prayer, the devil, the temptation, take him off from the church. And the brothers give the news to Saint Benedict. And Saint Benedict, with one hand, he bless him, and with the other hand, he correct him. On the other frescoes, you can see Saint Benedict. The most important things about Benedict, he introduced a new category in the monastic life, the work. In Latin, we say ora et labora, work and pray in the same time. But in the beginning, not all the monks accept those things. Full of envy, they were jealously about the holiness of Saint Benedict. They hate him. So what they done, they put poison in this calyx. Benedict, he doesn't know there is poison. So what he done? During the dinner, he blessed the table, and his benediction broke their malediction. I mean, his blessing shatters the calyx in two pieces, and the poison fall down.
Stick around after the break. We'll be back with more on this special episode of Vaticano. The next step in our journey leads us to the lower church. To get to it, you need to walk down a staircase located to the right of the transept in the upper church.
We are now in the lower church, so the shrine has been building from down to up, and there are two churches, lower church and upper church. The most important fresco, they are Byzantine style, beginning of the 13th century. There are four evangelists, but the difference between 13 and 16, here there are no perspective, and here the body is together with the symbol. You can see the body is a human, the wings represent the holiness, and the symbolize is together with the body. St. Matthew is an angel. Our Lord is symbolized with a lamb, holy lamb. Here on your upstairs right side, you can have St. Luke is a bull, and here Mark is the lion. you saw before fresco for the beginning of the 13th century. These frescoes are half of the 13th century. So between this fresco and the other fresco, there are 50, 70 years difference. So you can see straight away the colors. Look, for example, the characters, the wings of these characters. Our Lord here is not representing anymore as a lamb. He's a Christ Pantocratico. The pilgrims supposed to come here, pray in the cave by knees, down these stairs, and when they arrive here, they receive the benediction of our Lords. And then, through the benediction, they could pray easy to the cave. Then they use it to go to the upper church and receive the Mass. That was the pilgrimage of the medieval time.
In the lower church, there are 3 distinct areas and the holy steps. On both sides of these steps, a series of frescoes walk the pilgrim all the way down and remind him of an objective reality in his life, death.
That's the holy stairs. As I told you in the beginning, in the medieval time, pilgrims arrive only for praying in the shrine. So by knees, they go to the cave, and then they go to the upper church and they receive the Mass. Okay, on these stairs, they paint a very strange frescoes. The title of this fresco is The Triumph of the Dead. So you can see here the dead arrive fast. So fast, in that time, meaning horse. She has 2 weapons. Those people are dead, those people are dying. But look, those people, they are talking, their shoes, mantle, their hawk. Let me say, high society of the 13th, 14th century. Beneath the horse, you can have the low society, the pilgrims. As I told you, they were poor. So you can see they're old, look the way they wear. And they are ready to die. So what happened? The dead doesn't care about them. And they ask, you see, they talk. This style in Italian we call fumetto. If I translate fumetto, mean cartoon. So why do you kill young and rich people? We are old and poor. Take me. Let in peace the other. The dead answer, I prefer to take those people. They are not afraid from me. This fresco goes to the other side of the wall. On the other side, you have the preacher. He's still talking to the young and rich people. And he especially talked to those people, and he tell him, look how you are today. You are beautiful, you are rich, you are very important, but remember that one day you will be like that. So that's the 3 stages of the dead. So what's the message of these frescoes? It was painting 700 years ago, but today still nothing changed. Because there is only one reality in the world. I mean, for Christians, there's also the resurrection, right? But not all of people in the world believe to the resurrection. But all the people in the world have to believe to the dead. So no matter who you are, young, old, rich, poor, remember that one day you will die.
Once we get to the second series of arches, it's the beating heart of the monastery, St. Benedict's Cave, also known as the Cave of Prayer.
This is the place what we call Sacro Speco, Holy Cave, because Benedict lived 3 years in the deep prayer and meditation. In the beginning, he was alone, because eremitic means desert, means alone. But many people know him, and they bring him food. And his knowledge was so high that people, for example, shepherds, they used to come inside the cave to take some fresh. In the summertime, they also bring him some food. And Benedict, he thanks them. He had nothing to give him back, and he tells them about Christ. He educated the shepherds. And the shepherds, they were so happy that always they crossed this mountain, they came to talk and pray with Benedict. And so the shepherds give the news to the nearby towns. And many people arrive here. And in the end of the 3 years, that's the time Benedict stands in this cave, he understood that many people had to be educated. That's why he wrote the rule. This statue is very important because it has been made by a great artist, The name was Antonio Raggi, and let me say he was a great disciple of Bernini. So let me say this is a Bernini style. Benedict is representing very young. He has a silver feet because, during the permanence of Benedict here till today, imagine millions and millions of pilgrims arrive here to pray by knees. That's why they consume the rock, Yeah, so Benedict representing with arm crossing in his breast, adoration, the cross. And the basket is a symbol of people who bring in food.
Before we end our journey, Don Maurizio leads us to the third area of the lower church. From here, by way of a spiral staircase, you gain access to St. Gregory's Chapel, where a treasure of great historical importance is kept.
The most important frescoes here is the portrait of St. Francis of Assisi. So Francis of Assisi arrived here in the years 1223 to pray in the cave. As you know, Francis will receive the stigmata in the years 24, and he died 26. So when he arrived here, he didn't have the stigmata. So what happened? That the abbot of that time, he saw Francis, and he says to the monk, he was a chronist, write in the chronic that Francis arrived here. And he called a painter from Subiaco to make him the portrait. And the fresco you can see inside a protecting glass and a camera watch him 24 hours. Because it's very important. In the world, is only one time a fresco representing Francis in life. So in these frescoes, you can see another kind of Francis. Frescoes, he doesn't have the stigmata. He doesn't have the halo. And on his hand, he has a word, Pax Huic Domui, peace in this place. He came here to pray in the cave. So it was important, Francis, because we talk about the Francis 3 years before he died. Everybody knows, even in Europe, about St. Francis. So always he goes somewhere, people know him straight away, and they want to touch him or to talk him. And the abbot, he recognized him. He says straight away to the monks, write on the chronics, to remember the other people that we received Francis in this monastery. Oh, that's why he called also the painter. Because this is the only important man have been painting in life in this fresco. Cardinals, popes. But Francis, it was cardinal, it wasn't popes. It was Francis.
The fact of coming across a fresco of St. Francis in the first Benedictine monastery is certainly not by chance. The latter had a great devotion to St. Benedict, as Padre Ignacio, a Spanish monk who has been living inside the walls of this monastery for 40 years, reminds us.
San Francisco vino aquí 2 o 3 años.
St. Francis came here 2 years before he died. He spent some time in this monastery, and as a result, part of the Franciscan rule was adopted by the Benedictines. Many Franciscans and many branches of the Franciscan order actually come here to worship and see this fresco.
Y a ver este fresco.
Stick around. After the break, we'll be back with more Vaticano. Saint Benedict of Nursia is considered the great patriarch of monastic life in the West. Originally, he had intended to retire to a life of prayer, silence, and poverty, and never thought of founding an order. But over the course of the years, God asked him for more, and he founded the Benedictine order.
Él en la gruta se dedicaba a la oración, ¿no?
In the cave, Benedict was focusing on his prayers, but in that area there were also some shepherds. And actually, there's another cave under this cave, and we call it the Shepherd's Cave. They saw that something or somebody went out of the cave where the saint lived. At first, St. Gregory says the shepherds mistook him for an animal. Then they saw that he was a hermit and started calling him Bordei. They started joining him to listen to him. Then rich people also joined them, and these latter started bringing their kids with them. Among them, we can find his first two disciples, Saint Maurus and Saint Placidus.
Sabéis que los dos primeros discípulos fueron San Mauro y San Plácido.
Thanks to the foundation of this order, the saint from Nursia made it possible for European civilization and culture to rise again from the ruins of the Roman Empire. And it was precisely for this reason that Pope Paul VI proclaimed him the patron saint of all Europe. For Father Ignacio, the essence of the Benedictine spirit is rooted in the Holy Rule, written by the saint himself. It is a text from the 5th century AD, and though the times have drastically changed, this collection of rules is still valid. With his rule, the saint of Nursia organized monastic life around 3 pillars: communal prayer, personal prayer and meditation, and work. A collection of rules which gives each monk the right tools to face any temptation. In this way, the rule gives balance to every monastic vocation, which is a very demanding calling.
La regla es la misma, pero la interpretación de la regla, las constituciones, son diversas.
The most important things in the rule, its spirit, have all been kept. The things that don't have so much importance, well, those have been left aside a bit, like those about the kind of food and the times of prayer, etc. We need to take into account the world we live in, the society we live in, and thus change what's not important. Today, for example, I devote myself to confessions and things like that. When a person enters monastic life, he will go through difficult moments, moments when he will be tempted to leave the monastery and just get out. But, well, God helps you and takes you to the next step. I myself, over the last 40 years that I've lived in the monastery, have thought many times that, at best, this was not my life. But I found that it is my life, that it is what makes me happy, that it is what I want, that it is hard because at times you would like to be part of the world. But at the end of the day, you know that God called you for this life. You can be happy about a life like this, even though it means that you have to give up many other things, like having a family, a girlfriend, many things. But what you need to do is be honest with your choice. You've chosen God. And this is exactly what I say to the many priests who have come here to confess. I tell them that they have made a choice and that they need to be honest with this choice.
Sacerdotes jóvenes que vienen aquí a confesarse, les digo, has hecho una elección, sé honesto con esta elección.
Another important aspect of the Benedictine charisma is its welcoming culture, which opens its arms to all people, as Father Ignacio explains.
Aquí viene gente de todo. Viene gente.
Many different kinds of people come here, people with faith expecting a miracle. There are tourists that come to see the frescoes. You can see them right away. For example, many times while I'm celebrating Mass, tourists come in to see the frescoes, and they don't care about the Mass. There are people who come in dressed in casual clothes, to walk around, or just to get to know the site. So we can say that many people of many different sorts come here, and I think it's important to respect all those who come and welcome them, be it tourists, sports people, faithful, or atheists. There are people who come simply looking for solace, for somebody who can listen to them. Instead of going to a psychologist, they come here. I think it's important to welcome them well, and I think we can do them so much good. I think God uses moments like these and people like us so that people who don't believe or who don't have a clear idea of what faith is, we can change them. And you can actually change. It's very important to welcome these people regardless of whether they believe or not. As St. Benedict said, in these people, you welcome Christ.
Como dice San Benito, se acoge a Cristo en estas personas.
Saint Benedict was a man of prayer, discipline, and work, a revolutionary in love with Christ. He died on the 21st of March, the year 543, during the celebration of Holy Thursday. He attended Mass, and after praying with his brothers, he died standing in the chapel, his hands raised to the sky. His last words were, "I have this immense desire to go to heaven."